I've struggled with anxiety and depression basically my entire life, and even though I've made huge strides in my healing journey, I'm human, life ebbs and flows, and the reality is that some days are just more challenging than others, and that's okay. I believe the greatest lesson that I've learned this year is that the goal for self-improvement and healing and mental wellness isn't to feel happy 24/7, but instead to accept ourselves and love ourselves in our most darkest hours. And to not shame ourselves for being human and experiencing negative emotions like sadness, anger, frustration, and fear. Today I want to share with you some of the self-care habits that I really lean on when I need to prioritize my mental wellness. These self-care habits, they help me cultivate self-compassion, self-acceptance, and they help me get through those low days. To me, these feel like hitting the reset button when I'm overly anxious and wound up and even avoidant. They really help me calm down, tune in, get some true rest, and de-stress. When I'm struggling with my mental health and I'm feeling low, my mind tends to try to make me feel like I'm a victim. It tries to make me feel small and powerless to my circumstances, but we're not powerless. Facing and questioning the validity of any unkind or belittling thoughts through journaling or just sitting in silence with them, to me feels like creating space within my mind for hope. Hope that things can turn around. Hope that I am, in fact, enough to take up space as my true self. Hope that things are going to get better. Those limiting thoughts can only hold you back if you let them. So try asking yourself, is what you're telling yourself a 100% solid fact that can never change? Can you actually predict that things won't work out in your favor? What is it that you really need to hear right now? In a society that praises hustle and accomplishment, it can be challenging to not feel like a total failure if you can't get to everything on your to-do list. I remember I used to set myself up for failure constantly. I believed that in order to feel productive and to be proud of myself, I had to push myself to or past my capacity every single day. I believed that both the quantity and the quality of my work had to be high if I wanted to get anywhere. But of course, as we all know, that belief system can lead to burnout, and that in itself can perpetuate anxiety and stress and even reinforce the belief that we're not good enough. There is a place and time where willpower and grit are necessary, but something that slow living and even minimalism has taught me is that you don't have to burn yourself out to make large strides in your career or your school, your education, or even your life in general. In fact, taking things slower and editing down your to-do list to maybe 1 or 3 things that really matter most to you that day can help provoke even more focus and flow in your day. When I remove the pressure of checking multiple items off, the quality of my work improves, the way I feel about what I'm doing improves, I'm kinder to myself, my stress decreases, and I often end up getting even more done. The third self-care habit is to prep for a good night of sleep, which means creating a calming evening routine. And now I'm excited to introduce the sponsor of today's video, Aura. If you're like me and you've had restless nights where no matter how many sheep you count, you just can't switch off your brain. I've definitely been there, and something that has helped me reduce my anxiety and improve my sleep has been Aura. Aura is an Apple award-winning mindfulness and meditation app that is used and trusted by over 7 million people. It's basically an all-in-one app for your well-being. You can find meditations and stories and even resources for cognitive behavioral therapy, life coaching, breath work, and spirituality. It's like this smorgasbord. Is that how you say it? Smorgasbord. Something that I really appreciate about Aura is that they've really taken into consideration that everybody is so unique in what they need for their mental wellness. So they've included content created by hundreds of expert coaches and therapists from all around the world so that they can really personalize the app and make it as impactful as possible. Plus, the tracks are as short as 3 minutes long, so it's really easy to weave them into your daily routine. I personally really love their soundscapes for when I want to do a self-guided meditation, but I also like their melt into sleep meditation. I feel like it really is helping me sleep, which is what I needed when I just went through my most recent anxiety spiral. This app has really helped me get through that. It's really simple to get started with Aura. You start out by being prompted to choose what your needs and goals are, and then based on what you choose, Aura will curate a library of personalized tracks just for you. It feels almost like Spotify, but for your mental wellness. If you would like to try Aura out for yourself, the first 500 people to click on the link below in my description box will get a completely free 1-week trial of the app and also an exclusive 25% off of the membership. Going back to prepping for a good night of sleep, the first tip that I have actually starts in the morning, which is to reduce the amount of caffeine that you drink in a day. Caffeine affects cortisol levels in the body, which is essentially our stress hormone. So when I'm overly anxious or I'm having a low day, I limit myself to only having 1 cup of coffee in the morning so that I don't perpetuate that anxiety or stress within me. Secondly, I try not to have anything caffeinated after 2 p.m. because that can interfere with our brain producing melatonin, which is essentially what helps us fall asleep at night. My official evening routine starts at dinner time. Before sitting down to eat, I like to put my phone in the bedroom and make sure that my alarm is set for the morning. I started doing this where I put my phone in another room when I'm eating dinner because I found that I would end up scrolling mindlessly on Instagram, and I would often compare myself to others that way, and that just wasn't helping my anxiety or my stress. So that was a simple self-care habit that I could easily stack with eating dinner. Justin and I really enjoy watching an episode of a show while we're eating dinner so that we can really decompress from the day. Then I end up getting ready for bed. I do my skincare routine. I do a quick bedtime meditation to release any stress my body may be holding on to from the day.
Let your attention make its way to your breath.
And I end the night by reading a chapter or 2. So I used to read self-help books before bed, but I found that they would sometimes be too thought-provoking and I'd end up wanting to take notes, and they didn't really help me unwind. So then I jumped on the Colleen Hoover train. 1, I'm in love with her books and I definitely see why they're so popular. And 2, I love that I can just get lost in the story and not have to think too hard about what I'm reading about. I tend to fall asleep around 9:30 or 10, and I get up around 6:45 to 7. My current goal is to get around 9 hours of sleep every night because that's what helps me personally feel my best. You know how when you repeat the same routines day in and day out for a long enough period of time, how you end up gradually falling into a rut? Maybe you start feeling frustrated with your circumstances or unfulfilled at the end of the day, or like there's nothing to look forward to. I have a tendency to get bored with my routines very easily, so I found that carving out time in my weekly routine for a hobby can really help reignite the excitement that I feel for life, and it can even help me reduce how often I fall into a rut. Carving out time for a hobby is like giving yourself permission to do whatever it is that you want to do. Something for your pure enjoyment. If you're completely not sure what hobby you should even look into or get started with, something that I did was I just thought about what I liked doing when I was little, and that helped be a starting point for me figuring out what I enjoy as an adult. So maybe you enjoyed spending more time outside when you were younger, or maybe you enjoyed rollerblading, reading, writing, painting. It could be really anything. I don't think I ever shared that when I started this YouTube channel 2 years ago, I was struggling with depression after graduating from college. Expressing myself creatively and taking time just for me is what helped me get through some pretty dark days. This YouTube channel changed everything for me. It felt like putting on a life jacket when I could barely keep my head above water some days. I really didn't think I was going to cry while filming this. I'm just so grateful for every single one of you. I just don't say it enough, especially those that comment or chat with me on Instagram. You guys are some of the sweetest people that I've ever met. I was terrified to put out my first video, but it changed everything, and I'm so glad I did it. So if there's a hobby or something that you really want to pursue, take this as a sign to just do it, because it could be the one thing that helps you own who you are. If you're following me on Instagram, you probably saw that I recently started a 6-week-long pottery class. That, alongside the other self-care habits that I'm sharing in this video, is what helped me get through my most recent anxiety spiral that I was going through in October. Something unexpected that I really love about pottery is how easy it is to make a mistake. Making mistakes is an extremely important part of the process. Understanding the limitations of the clay you're working with is how you learn the most, and I just love that this hobby in particular is helping me reaffirm the belief that making mistakes is a very necessary part of growth, and it's nothing to be afraid of or ashamed of. The 5th self-care habit in my mental wellness routine is to remind myself who I'm talking to when I'm being unkind to myself. A little fun fact, our core narratives and beliefs tend to be formed before the age of 7. I personally developed a strong, anxious, preoccupied attachment growing up. I really struggled with codependency, with perfectionism, and I even experienced many situations that reinforced the belief that I can't trust myself and that I need to look to others for guidance and answers. I've done a lot of inner child work, subconscious work, and conscious work to rewrite those core narratives, but it does take time for them to unravel, and that's just part of the journey, and that's okay. So I have this box of mementos and photos when I'm being unkind to myself or when I catch myself telling myself that I'm not good enough. I like to look at photos of little me and remind myself that I'm talking to her, and she deserves better than that. She deserves to feel like she has a chance, that she can do anything she puts her mind to. She deserves to feel like she can take up space, speak her mind, and really own who she is at her core. Looking at those photos almost instantly makes me realize how much I need to support myself and be my own source of light when I'm being enveloped by darkness. I wish more than anything that I could say every experience we encounter will be positive. I wish I could say that every time we leave our comfort zone, we'll be proud of ourselves. Developing unconditional self-acceptance and self-love for ourselves can not only help us self-soothe when we're going through those rough days, but it can also help us feel more confident going after the things that we really want and not letting the possibility of a bad or flopped experience stop us from living our lives. The way I've cultivated that sense of having my own back no matter what happens is through inner child work and reparenting work, and I have an entire video dedicated on this subject. I go over all the steps that I went through, and I'll link it as a card right here, and I'll also link the video in the description box down below if you would like to watch it after this one. I struggled a lot with social anxiety growing up. I was a very, very shy child. I was actually put into a special class in preschool because I completely refused to talk to anybody that wasn't my family. As I grew up and I put myself out there more and more, my social anxiety lessened just over time, and I believe that I'm an ambivert, so I really do enjoy going out, being social, and spending time with friends, but my social battery drains really, really quickly, so I do also need time to myself to recharge. When I'm spiraling, I tend to isolate myself, which at times can be completely fine because sometimes that's exactly what I need, but sometimes I'll continue to isolate myself to a point where it's almost self-sabotaging. I'll isolate myself until I feel really lonely, and it almost makes me even more sad. Connecting with compassionate and kind people has quickly become one of my favorite modalities for my mental wellness. I really do love feeling like I'm part of a community. I love being able to help someone else realize that they are worthy of taking up space, and I love being able to be a safe person for a friend to vent to. Connecting to other people in that way lights my heart up, and it really helps turn my low days around. For example, I'm so grateful for my friend Sarah because she's also in a creative career, so she can relate to a lot of the doubt that tends to come up. Having a safe space with her like this has really been such a blessing. Secondly, I've been actively putting myself out there these last couple of months to find friends in the Dallas area. I went to a Pilates event and a self-defense class. Both of them were so much fun, and I've also started making some friends at the pottery studio. This is probably the most simple self-care habit out of all of them, but something that really helps me when I'm feeling chaotic, stressed, and frustrated is to set up a 5-minute alarm on my phone to tidy up the apartment. Sometimes I'll take the 5 minutes to focus on one area of clutter that's really bugging me, and then I stop cleaning, but other times those 5 minutes motivate me to keep on going. It really just depends on what I feel like I need in that moment to feel more at peace within my space. I hope you carve out time in your day to prioritize your mental wellness and do what you need to do. If you have any other self-care habits that you really love and have really helped you, please feel free to share them. And I can't wait to spend more time with you in the next video.